测温扫码，保持安全距离，尽快完成新冠病毒疫苗全程和加强免疫接种。今天发布会的主题是大学生就业和返乡工作有关情况。我们请来了教育部体卫医司副司长、一级巡视员刘培俊先生，学生司副司长吴爱华先生，国家卫生健康委疾控局一级巡视员贺兴华先生，请他们共同的回答记者朋友的提问。下面进入今天的现场提问环节，请各位记者朋友举手提问。提问前，请先通报所在的新闻机构。好，请提问。好，第一个问题，我们先来请右侧区第二排客过道第一位记者。
谢谢主持人，我是中国教育电视台记者。目前正值全国高校毕业生的就业季，在当前的全国疫情防控形势逐渐向好，但是有部分地区仍然有新的疫情发生。想请问，随着我们疫情形势的变化和防控政策的优化，高校是否可以邀请用人单位进校开展校园招聘活动呢？谢谢。
好，我们请刘培俊先生来回答这个问题。
Mr. Liu. Thank you for your concern about the enrollment on the campuses and containment measures. Right now, colleges nationwide are preparing their graduates for employment. At this critical time, the Ministry of Education has been implementing the CPC Central Committee's instructions, urging different localities to coordinate between the pandemic control and graduates' employment so that the graduates would find their way smoothly to the workforce. That is the top priority in the educational sphere. And it matters to every graduate because they are taking their first step towards their career. And it also matters to the national economy, social stability, and social well-being. Based on our previous years of experience, for such enrollment, especially the enrollment on campuses, it serves as the main channel for the job seekers. And since the pandemic is well controlled right now, with major progress made in different localities, paving the way for the enrollment on campuses. So, in such circumstances, the Ministry of Education, together with National Health Commission, have done in-depth studies by readjusting the containment measures on campuses so as to minimize the impact of the pandemic, creating a favorable environment for on-campus enrollment. On June the 14th, the Joint Prevention and Control Mechanism of the State Council notified that we must optimize and readjust the on-campus enrollment policy. First of all, we must set the targets scientifically by enabling the orderly enrollment on campuses so that the graduates could find higher quality jobs. Secondly, we must explain the preconditions of enrollment on campus, especially in the places with the infection. If the campus has seen no social sphere infection within the last 14 days in the city, then the enrollment on campus is allowed. Third, the graduates must be incentivized and the employers must take active measures, especially now while practicing the containment measures. They must also make up a detailed plan for on-campus enrollment while preventing and controlling the pandemic. Meanwhile, the employers must reinforce their communication with the colleges. They must actively participate in such activities as required. Fourth, the coordination of multiple authorities. The authorities must guide the pandemic containing methods during the enrollment process. They must take coordinated measures to solve any problem concerning the infection of COVID-19 and conquer all sorts of practical problems. It is fair to say that since now it is the season of enrollment, and China has very clear intention of guaranteeing enrollment on campus while preventing and controlling the COVID-19. So we must enable the graduates to find higher quality jobs. Thank you. Next question. Thank you. From the CMG. Recently, the General Office of the State Council has promulgated the document about encouraging the innovation and entrepreneurship of the college graduates. So what are the detailed measures in that document? Mr. Wu Aihua. Thank you for the question. In May, the State Council published a document on the measures of encouraging the college graduates' job seeking and entrepreneurship. It involves the career of the college graduates in 2022 and years after. And there are several priorities. First of all, extending the posts. The SMEs are the main channels for college graduates, so it supports more SMEs to absorb the college graduates with a lump sum subsidy to the SMEs and social insurance subsidies and taxation and charge reduction. And it supports the graduates to be self-employed, for example, by offering credit and interest-free policy and charge reduction. And also for those graduates with a flexible employment, there will be social welfare support. And this year, there will be an extended workforce from the SOEs for the college graduates. Secondly, the grassroots level employment. Grassroots are the main direction to absorb the college graduates. There will be some dedicated posts in the grassroots level, so they must pivot more towards the college graduates in 2022. For those graduates who move to the Western China or Central China and the remote areas, especially working at the level of county or even below the county level, there will be some specific support. And the employees working there could be promoted earlier than before. Third, according to the document, within the past 6 months, if the employees have been physically examined, then the employers should not ask for another round of examination, except required by the law. So that protects the health rights of the college graduates. The document also asks for the streamlining of the procedure. For example, there is no need of a certificate of employment, so that certificate will not be the threshold for the college graduates to settle down and to apply for a household registration system. And fourth, there will be some stage-by-stage policies to benefit the graduates. For example, in terms of the student loans, credit, there will be no interest for the student loans, and the repayment period will be postponed for another 1 year, benefiting about 4 million people. For the students that stay on campus for longer because of the pandemic, their archives can be kept for a longer period. And there will be more guidance to the college graduates in terms of career finding. There must be a professional system for the career guidance with a professional team of experts and teachers so as to foster the scientific concepts of job seeking among the students. And there is another campaign that has gone on for already 2 years, targeting at the difficult and vulnerable groups by offering more career-related training. We hope that the colleges and different employers must implement this document so as to materialize those policies, and there will be full employment among the college graduates. Thank you. Next question. From the Phoenix TV. As mentioned, right now, the graduates are about to leave their campus, but some graduates have not finalized their job offering yet. So how can the educational sector continue their support of those graduates staying still on campus now? Mr. Wu Waihua. Thank you for your question. At the time around leaving campus, that is the spring moment for our guidance work. Right now, we are arranging the so-called 100 days spring work for the enrollment activities. There will be tens of thousands of enterprises entering onto the campuses for enrollment and guidance. And there will be targeted services for those graduates still looking for a job. And we're working with some other authorities to employ professional teachers, the researchers and their assistants, and so on. And the policy-oriented posts are in the opening as well, because those posts are usually favored more by the college graduates. So we hope that we can help those graduates to find a job sooner. The colleges and the industry practitioners are also matchmaking. Since May, we have held over 10,000 such matchmaking activities. We also urge the localities and colleges to hold online and offline enrollment activities. As has been introduced, offline we have some requirements for such activities, and now we are going online because they both boast some advantages. The colleges must engage with the local industrial and business federation actively to conduct such activities. And there must be a continuous heat of such enrollment activities, especially for these students who have not found a job yet. The tutors and the mentors must pay attention to those students in order to offer the more targeted recommendations of posts and openings to the students. The students must take a scientific and objective look at the current situation and start from their own needs and actual conditions when they are choosing between the offerings. And also, I have to say that the students will grow stronger in practices. Some students have already left their campuses, while some others are not. And our educational circle will continue our services to the college graduates with targeted counseling and guidance. And we will also help the students to complete their procedure of registering in their employers. We hope that those students will find it more smooth to get involved with the employers. Next question. From People's Daily. In the recent week, there are over 800 infectious cases in Inner Mongolia, Beijing, and Shanghai. This pandemic is going on fiercely. So, what is your take on the overall situation of the pandemic? Mr. He Qinghua. Thank you for your question. Nationwide, this epidemic has been kept in stable control. In the last 2 days, the newly infected people stood at less than 100 in total, but in some places we see fluctuations. In Beijing, we saw an outbreak of this virus because of the infected people in the pub, but in the last 2 days, all of those infected people come from the isolated environment, and the number of the total infections is declining. But still, we must pay attention to the nucleic acid tests in order to screen them all out. And in Shanghai, recently there are some infectious cases out of the isolation loop. In Inner Mongolia, Ehrenhard, Zhifeng, and others, the pandemic is well controlled, basically on a downward trend in terms of the number of infections, but in some places, there still exists the risk of dissemination of the virus. In Tonghua, Baishan, Zhuxian, the social sphere infectious cases are still visible. So the risk of neighborhood-level transmission is still there. And we are all under pressure of the social sector infections. And we're going to be committed to the overall policy of dynamic zero COVID. And we will actively guide the localities to strengthen their containment measures and take precise measures and prioritize the prevention and control among key population and prioritize the places. There must be more targeted measures to control such a gathering of population and a concentrated outbreak of the virus. Thank you. Next question. From the CMG. The summer vacation is around the corner. How can the Ministry of Education guarantee the successful returning of the college graduates when the college graduates have been fended off by their hometown and evaded by their hometown? How can we solve that issue? Mr. Liu? Thank you for the questions. As you said, the summer vacation is incoming. College graduates are about to return home. We're going to embrace a high peak of the travelers back home. And how to embrace those graduates in their hometown? There are some available policies and working experience. Not long ago, on June the 3rd, the Joint Prevention and Control Mechanism of the State Council required localities to timely update their containment measures by supporting some willing college graduates to return home. In general, we have realized orderly leaving and returning. For all of those entities supporting the returning of the graduates, including the colleges, the authorities, and the media groups who have been concerned about this issue, I'd love to thank you all. In this time being, the Joint Prevention and Control Mechanism of all levels and colleges are all supportive of their returning with a mature mechanism and good experience. First of all, we identify the 2 exemption policies for the returning of the graduates. According to the Joint Prevention and Control Mechanism, the qualified graduates will be exempted from the centralized isolation. The returnees will have no isolation charges to be borne by themselves if they are isolated. And in the places with an outbreak of the virus, if the colleges where the students study had no virus outbreak, then the students can come home with the negative nucleic acid result within the last 48 hours and the certificate issued by the college. And in the traveling process, there must be closed-loop management. The qualified college graduates will not be quarantined when they arrive at home. They will only have a 7-day stay-at-home observation. And if there is any abnormality, they must report to their neighborhood and local authority. And the policy also states that if they need to be isolated, the localities must exempt them from any charge. And this information must be passed through different localities, and the localities must implement the policies strictly. And secondly, there are 2 mechanisms to ensure the smooth returning of the graduates, the Joint Prevention and Control Mechanisms, and the colleges have worked out a system with a matchmaking between provinces. Between the 2 places, the Joint Prevention and Control Mechanisms must be aligned. The information of any returning must be notified to the other side immediately, and the receiving place must ensure the accommodation and food supplies and medical needs of the isolated college graduates. And also, the province, the college must build up such an emergency response mechanism. And also, there must be smooth communication between the college, the Joint Prevention and Control Mechanism, and the hometown, so as to conquer any difficulty rising up during the process. Third, 2 channels of pursuing their needs. If the students bump into any problem or have any pursuits, they can go through two channels. First, they could resort to their college, including their tutor and the service department, and then the school can report to the local authority so that the joint prevention and control mechanism can solve that issue accordingly. Secondly, the joint prevention and control mechanisms in different localities can publish their hotline so as to exchange the information. The places with no outbreak of the virus, there must be a regular prevention and control mechanism in place in order to receive the students. And also localities of all levels must respect the willingness of the students. If the students choose to stay on campus, then there must be service insurance. The summer vacation is incoming, and there is going to be a peak of the number of returnees. And now there is already a set of mechanism and system to support the returning of the college graduates. In the next step, we're going to profoundly implement all sorts of requirements and policies of the Joint Prevention and Control Mechanism and guide all localities and higher learning institutions to make full use of our mature experience and detailize the returning policies, especially by highlighting the 9 forbidden measures at national level. For those not implementing the returning policies, especially the localities restricting the returning of the college graduates, we must hold themselves accountable, and we will solve the last 1 kilometer issue. And for the graduates to spend their summer vacation soundly, we will urge all parties to do their utmost. Thank you. Next question. Thank you from the CMG. My question is also about the college graduates' employment. In recent years, the MOE has already established the platform to boost the college graduates' employment. So what is the role played by that platform, Mr. Wu Waihua? Thank you for the question. For the so-called 24365 platform, it means we will offer 24/7 for 365 days year-round services for the students. And it was proposed early in 2020. Because of the influence of pandemic, this platform helped the college graduates to find a job since they cannot go out offline. And this year, the service platform of 24365 was completed. Career employment, career services, and career management were integrated together. First of all, speaking of the career services, the platform offers 24/7 services for the graduates. The graduates can come to this platform for employment anytime. And second, all cycle support. In the segments serving the students, we cover a lot of services. For example, the searching of posts, interviews, and contract signing online. We cover the whole life cycle of the employment. And for employers, we offer services of publishing the openings, and we invite more employers to publish their openings on this platform. We also offer services of interview notification and online signing, and so on. Now, many graduates in 2022 have registered. 545,000 employers registered as well. Third, all directional resources. For one thing, we offer services and resources of career guidance. We also have some non-profit lectures for 147 sessions. And there are 683 career cases. We have about 330 million views already through the social service institutions, the hiring, institutions, we have been working together so as to exchange our resources and information. Right now, on this platform, 10.36 million openings are published. And that was the number from September last year till now. All openings are real, and the majority of the openings are updated. We hope our graduates can make full use of those openings, and we invite more employers to publish their job openings. According to our survey, 31% of the 2022 college graduates accomplish their career-finding dream through this platform. In the next step, we will continue to extend the functionalities and resources of the platform to optimize our career services, and we encourage our media friends to pay continuous attention to this platform and be supportive of us. Next question. From Xinhua News Agency. My question is about employment of college graduates. The pandemic is dealing some shocks to the employment of college graduates. So how can the colleges continue such enrollment activities? Mr. Waihua. Thank you for the question. As to the requirements of containment measures during the enrollment activities, there were already some details introduced, and I'd just like to add some more information. In the preliminary stage, the MOE has made some arrangements. Now, according to the instructions of the Joint Prevention and Control Mechanism, we must minimize the influence of the epidemic over the colleges, and we will try to organize as many activities of enrollment as possible. As has been introduced, in principle, if there is no social sector infection case in the last 7 days, then such enrollment activities are eligible. And second, there are some special campaigns to smooth away the communication between colleges and employers. We encourage the invitation of employers to participate in the activities. 2,255 colleges are surveyed, and 5,000 enterprises are engaged. We have uploaded about 500,000 such job openings, and we must create conditions to invite in those employers. For example, we have a campaign called 10,000 Enterprise on Campus, and the colleges must make full use of those resources so that there will be some convenience for the enterprises. And there must be some offline matchmaking activities between the employers and the students. Also, we must try to relate the employers to the students. Colleges must have a strong partnership with the employers so that they can match the supply with the demand, especially in terms of the education of the directed college graduates. And these talents could be put into better use during the matchmaking. Thank you. Next question. From the cover, participating in the on-campus enrollment is the main channel for the college graduates to find a job. And now there is a policy about the pandemic containment during such enrollment activities. So how can we implement those measures of containment during such activities? Mr. Liu. On June the 14th, the State Council Joint Prevention and Control Mechanism required the localities that there must be a basket of policies of containment during the on-campus enrollment. It asks the provincial level joint prevention and control mechanisms to reinforce 3 monitoring measures. First, highlighting the priorities and urge their execution. The containment measures must be comprehensively executed, and for the prioritized places and groups of people, the containment measures must be put into grounds. Second, locating problems and correcting behaviors. Certain authorities or entities might be implementing a one-size-fits-all policy, so we must correct such wrongdoings. Third, focus on the actual effectiveness. We promote the localities to serve the college graduates, and we must ensure their health and safety, and ensure the orderly implementation of those activities. So in general, we must build the local capacity in their accountability system and containment measures. The pandemic control and enrollment must be combined together actually, and we support the employers to find their long-sought talents. Thank you. Next question.
My question is about the vaccination, especially among the elderly people above 60 years old. What is the new updates from Beijing News?
Mr. He, thank you for the question. According to the Joint Prevention and Control Mechanism, the National Health Commission continues to guide the localities to steadily promote vaccination. By June 16th, nationwide, the cumulative reported vaccination was 3.3 billion doses. The total population vaccinated reached 1.29 billion, and for the population completing the 3 doses, the number stood at 1.259 billion. So the coverage ratio accounts for 91.66% and 89.31% of the total population nationwide. For the sequential vaccination, the number is 39 million. For the population above 60 years old, the number stood at 231.4 million, accounting for 87% of the total. For the elderly people completing the vaccination, the number is around 200 million, accounting for 38.09% of the total. As you may have noticed, on May the 22nd, the 75th World Health Conference has declared that the newly reported number of confirmed cases and the death number have declined, but still we cannot drop vigilance because 70 countries have reported a rising number of infected cases. Especially in Africa, with the lowest ratio of vaccination, the reported number of deaths is increasing. So vaccination is still the main means of preventing against this virus. Here, I'd love to call upon those unvaccinated people to get the vaccination as early as possible. Thank you. Next question.
From Southern Urban Daily. According to some graduates, the colleges forced the students to sign their contracts, so the employment ratio may be discounted. So what measures can be taken to avoid such a phenomenon of forced employment? Thank you for the question. We do such an organization of the employment number and ratio. So
The precision of those data is the bottom line. To do a better job in such statistics, MOE convened a conference, strictly setting up the discipline of such statistics, and there must be no, for example, way of forcing the students to sign the employment contract. And we forbid the issuance of the graduation certificate with the signing of contracts, and we forbid the signing of a false contract. And we forbid the internship materials as the employment materials. In addition, to the colleges and schools, there must be no detailed quota, and there must be no assignments issued to the tutors. And such quota must not be coupled with the performance evaluation of the tutors. The MOE further emphasized about those points during such a conference. To implement such policies, MOE improved the methods of implementing this plan. For example, we received feedback from the college graduates. For the college graduates who have decided their jobs, we send notification asking them to log on to the 24365 platform and report and complain any wrongdoing. And such hotline and email boxes are already set up to enhance the social monitoring. Second, we also set up a mechanism to compare the data about employers. We have an authoritative channel to monitor and compare the information about the employers submitted by the schools and colleges. Third, the settlement mechanism is built. There must be regular data checking. If there is any clue of wrongdoing, we must check such piece of information and urge the school and employer to correct their wrongdoings. We will crack down upon one case once the case is found. Fourth, in the past 2 years, we commissioned the National Statistics Bureau to have a sample taking among the college graduates about their workforce. And this year, we will continue such cooperation to have a randomized sample taking. And we will study and analyze the results. Thank you. Next question. According to the documents, in the affected places by the pandemic, there will be a policy of getting on post first and then being examined. So how can the MOE implement such a policy? From China Review News, that is a new policy in order to respond to the pandemic. In addition to the certification of the teachers, there are some other qualification examinations. But this year, because of the influence of pandemic, since March, according to our statistics, 10 provinces postponed the examinations of teachers. So, there is a new proposal that in the severely affected places by the epidemic, the online teachers' examination will be continued. And that policy will further guarantee better services. To implement the policy, the MOE gave a notification by allowing the middle school, professional schools, and teachers working in those places to enjoy such early assumption of post. And such a teacher certification and examination must not be a mandatory requirement. In addition, to streamline our management and decentralize our management in the educational sector, we ask the pilot provinces to reform such a teacher's examination covering the graduate students and the normal major students. The college graduates, once qualified, could enjoy such an exemption of examination. Later, there will be some details to be shared. We will do our utmost to reduce the burden on the students who are unable to take an examination because of the pandemic. There are two last questions to be raised. China Youth Daily. In such a time with the outbreak of the virus, a certain number of people will enter and exit the campuses. How can we have targeted containment measures to ensure the safety of those activities? Mr. Liu Peijun. Thank you for the question. To scientifically and precisely conduct the containment measures and support the enrollment activities on campuses in an orderly and safe manner, on June the 14th, State Council Joint Prevention and Control Mechanism published a policy requiring the localities and colleges to prioritize on three measures. First, implement the regular containment measures on campuses to ensure safety on campus. The enrollment activities on campuses will see a certain amount of people entering onto the campus, so there must be such containment measures in place. And there is a technical plan for the implementation of that policy. There must be health monitoring, the products and items monitoring, and disinfection in the enrollment places to prevent any virus introduced onto the campus in order to provide a safe environment of enrollment. Meanwhile, it is stated that the local joint prevention and control mechanism will offer some guidance. With that guidance, the colleges will build an emergency response and settlement mechanism so as to build their capacity of emergency response with that contingency plan. There must be a makeshift observation site on campus, and they must deploy necessary supplies and offer training for certain personnel. Especially, there must be rehearsals in the critical stages. Once a virus breaks out, they must be able to launch the contingency plan immediately. Second, dedicated prevention and control plan to guarantee the orderly activities. The localities must make precise and detailed enrollment activities dedicated plan. There will be some dedicated measures of containment during the enrollment activities. First of all, ask the cities where the colleges reside to allow such enrollment activities if there is no outbreak of the virus in the last 7 days. And for those disqualified colleges and employers, they can actively hold online enrollment activities. Like Mr. Wu Aihua said, online and offline enrollment activities will go hand in hand so as to create more favorable conditions for the job seekers. For the places with no outbreak of infections, there will be some regular containment mechanism. And under that circumstance, the colleges and employers will continue their enrollment. Third, for any people enter onto the campus, there must be no traveling history of a place with a virus infection in the last 7 days. There must be nucleic acid test result in the last 48 hours, and their body temperature must be checked. Third, the site of enrollment should better be outdoors or in the open air or in a spacious place. And there must be a cap of the number of employers on the same site. Third, the accountability mechanism must be in place to ensure safety. During the activities, for all participants of the enrollment activities, they must register themselves and have their health conditions checked. There must be well-arranged time periods for different employers and students. All people are required to keep a 1 meter social distance while wearing their facial masks. There must be a required density of population, and the requirement must be explicitly about the duration of their stay on the site of enrollment. It also stresses that such containment measures on campuses may be updated and readjusted according to the actual situation of this pandemic. Last question. Hongxin News. Among the college graduates, some come from low-income families. What will be the measures taken by the MOE to help them find a job? Wu Anhua. Thank you for the question. College graduates from the low-income families are at the heart of the central government. And also the MOE is critically concerned about them, and we will be supportive of them. We dedicate our soul and heart to serve them, and we will do the following three. First, dedicated plan to support them. The colleges must build such a log about the students coming from low-income families. For example, as mentioned by General Secretary Xi Jinping, the social insurance family and others belong to this category. There must be one specific record about one student coming from those families. For every one of those students, there must be precise notification of job openings. For every student, there must be at least 3 to 5 notifications. Some colleges will earmark money independently to subsidize those students, for example, by offering suits for the students for free to reduce their cost of finding a job. And for the tutors, they will offer some mentoring for those students so as to have personalized job guidance and build their confidence. Then the students could be better prepared for the job seeking. In addition, there will be special training for the students from low-income families. The Ministry of Finance is implementing a campaign targeting at the vulnerable students. For the students, there will be the capacity training online and offline. During the trainings, the tutors will revise their resumes one-on-one and recommend the job openings for them. And they will help the students to engage with the employers. This campaign has helped 69,000 students, and 68,000 students receive the training offline. In addition, there will be the enrollment. The Bank of China, China Youth Entrepreneurship Fund have conducted online enrollment activities, offering 132,000 job openings, and some colleges also hold such special enrollment activities. Especially in the severely affected places by the epidemic in Shanxi, Jilin, Shanghai, we held similar activities by offering over 200,000 job openings. With those activities, we did our best to help the students to find a job. Since this is the last question, I'd love to take this opportunity to thank all the media friends to support and understand the work of enrollment of college graduates. We also hope that our media friends could help us publicize the premium experience of enrollment of college graduates and share the examples of job seekers so as to better support the college graduates to find a better and higher quality job. Thank you. In today's presser, our experts introduced to us about the pandemic situation recently and the policies of college graduates finding a job and returning to their hometown. We do give our best wishes to the college graduates. Later on, we will hold similar pressers. Please stay tuned with us. This is the end of today's presser. Thank you for watching.